I don't even have a joke to start this. I just haven't been this interested in a series since Poker Face. Which is saying a lot because I tell so many people about Poker Face. I'm a very annoying person when it comes to that show. Hey, what's up? My name is John Bonjour. I'm an artist and a film enthusiast. I have drawn some art and I would like to enthuse about some film. Today we are talking about the TV show Fallout on Amazon Prime. Before we even get started, I am still traveling. I'm still in an Airbnb in Thailand right now. It's wonderful. The lighting is terrible. There's nothing I can do. This is as good as it's gonna get. Jumping right in, I'm gonna start with non-spoilers like I always do. This show is amazing. It really is. Just like across the board. If you're a Fallout fan, I think this was built for you. If you're not a Fallout fan, this is one of the most interesting examples, I think, of a TV or movie adaptation of a video game that's maybe better for both somehow. I feel like this really does cater. Like, I played a lot of the Fallout games. I think this show really caters to Fallout fans. People who will get when they're hacking into whatever computer and you get to choose the little words. People who understand what the ghouls are get why being a feral ghoul is bad. People who see that mustache on that one guy and go, I swear that's in a game somewhere. It's those kinds of things that make this show really geared toward people who played Fallout in such a unique and beautiful way. This feels like playing a game of Fallout. You're just not in control and you don't get to do the dumb things that I did in that game. And yet somehow, and this is the most interesting thing about this series in my opinion, I think it's really good for people who haven't seen a frame of the game. My wife Darcy watched this show with me. She hasn't played any of them, and she loved it. She was immediately on board. There were no weird hurdles to get over like there are with some other video game adaptations. It just does such a good job of dropping you into this world in a way that feels natural and unique and lets the story kind of develop from there. Other non-spoiler thoughts, I think the cast is incredible, specifically Ella Purnell and Walton Goggins. I don't want to say much about their characters because that's kind of a huge part of the show, but they are some of the best written characters I think I've ever seen. To that point, the writing on this show is so intrinsically interesting all the time. They're throwing new, weird, creative ideas, little nuggets of ideas where it's like, I would watch a show just based on that, and yet it's some tiny little portion of this episode. Yet it doesn't feel like this world is getting bogged down. It doesn't feel like we're trying to introduce ourselves to too much. It has this very strange tone of acceptance throughout the whole show, where it's like, one episode has this zombie storyline, and does that ever come up again? Not really. Like, maybe a little bit, but any other show that introduces zombies halfway through the show, the rest of the show is about zombies. And yet Fallout does such a good job of bouncing from idea to idea and keeping the tone so clear, so concise, and so focused on the story that you never lose interest. The effects are really solid. There's a couple of moments where it's like, it looks a little weird. It's a TV show based on a video game with some really crazy creatures and weird things. It's gonna happen a little bit. You're gonna get the kind of Iron Man floaty head power suit thing here and there. But really when it comes down to it, the effects that are important are really solid in this show. I was blown away. My biggest and kind of only complaint about the show, in the least spoilery way I can say it, the end of it sort of loses its footing. Just a tiny little bit. The last episode feels like it loses itself just a little, and that's kind of all I can say. That being said, though, that is a very minuscule complaint. If you have already seen it, watch through the rest of the video. I will tell you what I mean by that. But if you haven't, please do not let that deter you from watching this show. This is one of those shows, same way I felt with Poker Face. It does not matter who you are or what you're into or what kind of shows you generally like. I think this is worth giving a shot. Even if you're not a big Fallout fan, even if you don't really like post-apocalyptic stuff most of the time, I cannot recommend this show highly enough. I think it's totally worth watching. It just got renewed for season 2, and I couldn't be happier about that. With that said, I'm going to talk about a couple of spoilers, just things that I want to talk about. So here's your warning. Please leave if you haven't seen the show. Walton Goggins' character is the most interesting character I've seen in years. The idea of a zombie being kept alive for hundreds of years just to be pulled out to do cool gunslinger shit every once in a while, I cannot express to you how interesting that is to me. I don't know how they came up with it, where that came from. It is a brilliant idea. Just a fantastic kind of twist on that lone desert wanderer character in all the westerns. He is an amazing character, and he is played beautifully by Walton Goggins. That kind of nasty cynicism with a little bit of heart behind it. He's so good at that. He brings that a lot in the movie Fat Man, if you've ever seen that. But this is a little bit more that. It's a little more extrapolated into that direction of the character. I just adore his character. I'm so interested to see where he goes. I love that he doesn't have this complete heel turn. He is a good dad who also is going through a lot of stuff. I like that he doesn't just go back to being, just a wonderful, happy-go-lucky dad guy. Like, he is still this grizzled, weathered, kind of jackass character, and I really love that. But that character really only works in the long term for this show because he's contrasted by Ella Purnell's Lucy, who is also a fantastic character. The idea of somebody who's in this cult kind of situation and then brought into the real world has to kind of reconcile with the idea that everything she's believed is not true, but it's also not 100% false. I love that character. I love that she's kind of the antithesis of the ghoul. She does a wonderful job bringing that optimism, bringing that hope throughout the show. And I love the way they write that character to twist that optimism, not into pessimism, but into a more realistic optimism. She still chooses to be good and pure and solid as a person and as a character, but also accepts some of the truths of this world, which is crazy that I'm having these kinds of thoughts about a Fallout show. I am blown away at how good the writing is for this, because they could have made it some knockoff Guardians of the Galaxy, just a bunch of people doing some funny shit kind of thing, and instead they made Guardians of the Galaxy, but in Fallout. They made such a good, interesting set of characters that I care about and want to see through. Same deal with the Knight in this show. He's wonderful. I don't have as much to say about him just because his character is just not as important. I don't know. He's just not as intrinsic to the show as a whole. But what he does play, he plays really interesting. And I think that's just a testament to the writing of the show overall. It keeps you guessing. I never knew where this was going. I love that it's a part of the Fallout world, and yet it's its own kind of mystery. Like, they do such a good job bringing up little questions and playing with them and teasing you, and then at the end, the reveal is not disappointing at all. The idea that Vault-Tec launched the bombs, created these vaults as a series of tests, I don't remember, honestly, if we got to that in the games. I don't think we did. I think that was a reveal for the show. Brilliant. I think it's fantastic. Like, we knew that there was some weird stuff going on with Vault-Tec, and there's a good chance that in one of the games they hint at that or talk about that, or maybe they completely tell you. I haven't played all of them, but the ones that I did, they definitely didn't mention that. And I love the idea that they're willing to completely, fundamentally shift this world in a way that feels like it was always planned. I'm just blown away. I think this show is fantastic. It's also hilarious and really gross. Some of the practical and I assume CGI gore effects, really impressive, very disgusting. It's hard to make me shocked at the gore in a scene, but they place it in such unexpected times that it really took me by surprise multiple times. Back to my negative that I had. I don't at all, just to be clear, think that the last episode is bad on any level. I think it's a fantastic episode. The whole show is fantastic. But I will say some of the emotional beats don't always land in the last episode. They try 3 or 4 really massive hits, and some of them land really well, and some of them, to me, get a little lost in the sauce. All that to say, I really do love Fallout. I highly recommend, if you haven't seen the show, well, you probably shouldn't be watching right now, but if you haven't seen the show, please go watch it right now. And if you have, let me know what you thought of the show. Thank you for watching this video and checking out my channel. If you'd like to hear more of my thoughts on movies, shows, games, comic books, post-apocalyptic scenarios, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and comment down below what you'd like me to review next. Or do none of those things, because I am not your dad. Oh, and while we're interested in post-apocalypses, check out my comic book, Edge of Bordertown. It is 100% free on my website, johnbonart.com. It's about a post-apocalypse. I forgot to say that.